What's up, y'all? This is Charlie. Today I'm going to be showing y'all how to make my homemade liver and onions with shrimp, with cheesy mashed potatoes and green peas, made from scratch. Now, this is just not your ordinary liver and onions recipe video. I'm going to give y'all a little demonstration here. We first start off by taking the liver and the shrimp, and we dredge it in flour and we saute it in a pan of butter. And in the process, with that combination of browning of the flour and the butter, we create a roux with that. Now, once that's done in a separate pan, we saute our green onions and our yellow onions that's chopped up into like onion rings, and we saute that until it's a nice golden brown. Then we create a beef base and we add our shrimp shells, our shrimp heads to that, and we're going to make a beef / shrimp stock. And once we're done with that, we're going to add all of that into a large saucepan, cover it with a lid, and let it slow cook just for a little while, because you know liver and shrimp takes a short time to cook. So you just let it cook until it becomes a nice thick gravy, and there you have it. Now, all the rest of the stuff, I'm not going to explain that because we're cooking a whole meal here, of course. Now, this recipe serves about 4 people. Now, you can increase the liver to 2 pounds if you want to serve a little bit more people. But this right here, 1 pound should do. All right? And it is absolutely delicious. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, here's all what you'll need to make your smothered liver and onions with mashed potatoes and green peas. Let's get started. You will need 1 pound of sliced calf liver. You can also increase this to 2 pounds if you like. And along with that, you will need 1 pound of fresh Louisiana shrimp. It could be any size. Here we have some all-purpose flour, salted butter, 8 ounces of extra sharp cheddar cheese. Now, if you don't want cheese in your mashed potatoes, you can completely omit this from this recipe. Whole milk, better than bouillon beef base, and for our seasonings, you'll need some salt, Tony Saturated Creole seasoning. Now, if you don't have this, you can use the Zatarain's Creole seasoning or the Second Mama Cajun seasoning. Chef Paul Prudhomme's Poetry, and Seafood Magic. Y'all know I use this in just about every recipe. But if you don't have this, you can completely omit this from this recipe as well. And the only thing you'll have to use is the Tony Saturated, and you'll be good to go. All right? And along with that, you'll need some granulated onion and garlic. I call it onion and garlic powder, of course. All right, and along with that, you'll need some dried thyme and frozen organic green peas. And for our additional seasonings, you will need 2 yellow onions. You're going to need 1 for the liver, of course, and the second one for the green peas. We will also be using some green onion, garlic, and 3 russet potatoes. And I forgot to mention that you're going to need some sugar and some crab ball. The crab ball is optional. If you don't have it, you don't have to use it. And there we have it. Alright, let's get straight to it. We're going to start by taking the first yellow onion, and we're just going to slice that. Do this the best way you can, okay? And this is how it looks when we're done. Now we're going to take the slices and we're just going to separate those. And once done, you could just set this on the side, alright? Now for the second yellow onion, you're only going to need half of it. So we're just going to take that and we're just going to chop it up. Here we have a bunch of green onions. We're just going to chop this up. And we're going to chop up the ends as well. And just place this into a separate bowl. Alright, here we have 2 cloves of garlic. We cut it in half, of course. And we're just going to chop that up until it is minced. Here we have a cheese grater and shredder. We're going to shred 4 ounces of extra sharp cheddar cheese. Here we have a potato peeler. We're going to peel 3 russet potatoes. Now once done, we're going to take the potatoes and we're just going to cut it in half. And from there, we're going to chop the potatoes into quarter pieces, like how you see here. Alright, here we have some cold water into a large bowl. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of vinegar. And we're going to give that a quick stir. Now we're going to add the potato cubes into the vinegar and water solution. Not only does the vinegar and water solution help clean the potatoes, but it also prevents them from turning brown. Now we're going to let this sit until we're ready to cook it, okay? Here we have 3 cups of hot water. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of the better than bouillon beef base, and we're going to stir that until that beef base has dissolved into the water. And there you go, beef base. Now let's get started with our all-purpose flour batter. We're going to add 1 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour into a large bowl, and to that we're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, a 1/2 teaspoon of Chef Paul Prud'homme's Poetry Magic, a 1/2 teaspoon of Chef Paul Prud'homme's Seafood Magic, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Now we're going to give this a quick stir, and we're going to set this on the side. Alright, let's get started with our shrimp. Here we have a shrimp. We're going to take the head and we're just going to remove that off of the shrimp and place that into one bowl. Now we're going to peel the shell off of the shrimp. And we're going to take the shell and we're going to place that into the bowl with the shrimp heads. And we're going to take our shrimp tails and place that into a separate bowl. Now we're going to cut out the back of the shrimp with a sharp knife. And inside there's the shrimp's digestive tract. And you're just going to pull that out. And there you go. Now we're going to add our shrimp tails into a strainer, and we're going to rinse this off with cold water. Now let's get started with our beef/shrimp stock. Preheat your fire to medium-high heat. In a medium-sized pot, we're going to add our beef base. We're just going to pour that right on in there. And here we have some crab ball. We're going to add 1/8 teaspoon of that in there. Going to give this a quick stir. Now we're going to let this come to a simmer. Our mixture is at a simmer now. We're going to add our shrimp heads and shells. Just add that all in there all at once. Now we're going to give this a quick stir. And we're going to let this simmer for 10 minutes. It's been about 10 minutes now, and our shrimp/beef stock is done. It's looking good. Now we're going to turn our fire off. Now we're going to add our shrimp/beef stock into a mesh strainer with a large bowl underneath it. Well, with a medium-sized bowl, I'm sorry. Now we're going to take our shrimp heads and shells and we're just going to discard those. And there you go. Simple. Now, preheat your fire to medium-high heat. And we're using a cast iron skillet now. In our skillet, we're going to add 5 tablespoons of salted butter. And we're just going to spread that around our skillet. Let that melt all in there. Alright, now we're going to take our liver and we're just going to add it into our all-purpose flour batter. And we're just going to coat that liver with the all-purpose flour batter. We're not using any type of special coating or anything. We're just dredging it into the flour. Now we're going to take our liver and we're just going to add it into the skillet. Now we're going to let this fry for 2 minutes on each side. Now y'all about to see how horrible I am at flipping. Look at that. Terrible. Alright. Now we're going to remove our liver out of the skillet and then we're going to place that onto our serving dish. Now to keep this warm, you could just wrap it up with aluminum foil and you'll be all set. Alright, now we're going to add our shrimp into our all-purpose flour batter. Look, I'm making a mess already. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean this up right quick. Now let's continue. We're going to go ahead and cover this and we're going to shake the bowl to coat that shrimp with the all-purpose flour batter. That's a nice little coating there. Now we're going to take the shrimp and add it into the skillet. Now I want to give y'all a quick tip here. If y'all happen to run out of butter in y'all skillet, just add an additional 2 tablespoons of salted butter. Let it melt in the pan, and then from there just add your shrimp and you'll be good to go. Okay. Alright, now we're going to let our shrimp fry for about 2 minutes on each side. As y'all can see, that's a nice golden brown. Looks good. Alright. Alright, our shrimp is done. Now we're going to take our shrimp and we're just going to remove them from the skillet. And we're just going to place that onto our serving dish along with our liver. And remember the trick I showed y'all with the aluminum foil. Y'all could just wrap that up if y'all want to keep that warm. Alright. Now turn your fire off. And those drippings that's in the skillet, you're going to save that. We're just going to place that on the side. Alright. We'll use that later. Now we're going to preheat our fire to medium-high heat. Now let's saute our green onions and our onion rings. In a large saucepan, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of salted butter. We're going to spread that around our saucepan. We're going to let that melt, of course. Now we're going to add our green onions. Just add it all in there, all at once. And to that, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of garlic. And we're just going to give this a quick stir. And to that, we're going to add our onion rings. Just add it all in there all at once. Ain't no measurements or nothing. Just add it all in there. Now we're going to give this a quick stir. And look at one of the onions that got caught in my spoon. I'm going to remove that off there. Alright, now we're going to cover this. And we're going to let this saute for 12 minutes, stirring occasionally. Alright, it's been about 12 minutes now. And as you can see, our seasonings have cooked down some. Exactly what we want. And it also has a nice caramelized color. Looks good. Now we're going to turn our fire off. Now at this time, you're going to preheat your fire on your cast iron skillet to medium-high heat. Alright, here we have our brown flour and our drippings. And to that, we're going to add our beef/shrimp stock. We're just going to pour it all in there. And we're just going to take a wooden spatula and we're just going to glide that along the bottom of the skillet. We want all those drippings and that brown flour to combine with that shrimp stock and beef stock. Is going to give it an extraordinary flavor. Now we're going to let this come to a simmer, which you see here. It's looking pretty good. Now we're going to take our shrimp and beef stock from our cast iron skillet and we're just going to pour that right into our saucepan. Now y'all want to make sure that your fire is preheated to medium-high heat. Alright. Now let's add a little bit of seasoning. We're going to sprinkle 1/4 teaspoon of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme. Now we're going to give this a quick stir. Boy, this smells really good. I remember when I cooked it, it smelled really good. Now we're going to add our liver. We're just going to add that in there. And to that, we're going to add our shrimp. Just add it all in there. And now we're just going to take our spatula. We're not going to stir it because we can't really stir it. We're just going to kind of like let it get into that liquid. Now we're going to cover this. And we're going to let this cook for about 4 to 5 minutes or until it turns into a gravy. Alright. Now I'll give y'all a quick tip. If you want a little bit more gravy, you can add up to about 1 cup of water in here. Just pour it in there. And give it a quick stir, cover it, let it simmer for about 4 to 5 minutes or until it turns into a gravy. Alright, it's been about 4 to 5 minutes now, and our liver and onions with shrimp is done. It's looking pretty good. Now we're going to turn our fire off. Now I want to give you a quick tip now. The gravy will thicken as it cools, and the flavor will increase the very next day, so it'll taste better the very next day. Alright. Now we're going to preheat our fire to medium-high heat. Now let's get started with our mashed potatoes. In a medium-sized pot with some water, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. We're going to give that a quick stir. That's about close to about 2 quarts of water I have in here. Now we're going to add our potato cubes into a strainer. Now our water is at a simmer. We're going to add our potato cubes. And of course that's going to bring down the temperature, so you know, be mindful of that. Now we're going to just give this a quick stir. Now we're going to let this simmer for about 12 to 15 minutes. It's been about 12 to 15 minutes now, and our potato cubes is done. Alright, it's looking pretty good. Now we're going to turn our fire off. Now we're going to add our potato cubes into a strainer. Be very careful because this is hot, of course. Now we're going to let this cool off for about 5 to 10 minutes. We transferred our potato cubes into a large bowl. Using the back of a spoon, I'm just going to smash the potatoes. Of course, I ain't get a potato masher yet. I don't know what I'm waiting on. Now we're going to preheat our fire to medium-high heat. In a large pot, we're going to add 1 cup of whole milk. 4 tablespoons of melted salted butter. You can increase that to 5 if you want to. Half a teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon of onion powder. And 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Now, if you have Chef Paul Prudhomme's Vegetable Magic, you can add a half a teaspoon of that in there. You'll be good to go. Now, we're going to give this a quick stir, and we're going to let this come to a simmer. Alright, our mixture is at a simmer now. Now, we're going to add our mashed potatoes. We're just going to add that in there. Add it all in there, a little bit at a time now. Now, we're going to take our spoon, and we're just going to stir this until the potatoes are creamy and smooth. Now you're going to turn your fire off. Now at this time, remember that cheese that we shredded earlier. You're just going to add that in there. That extra sharp shredded cheddar cheese. You're just going to add that in there. Now we're going to give this a quick stir. And we're going to stir this until that cheese has completely melted into the potatoes. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Cheesy mashed potatoes. So much work goes into making stuff from scratch, boy, I tell you. Now you're going to preheat your fire to medium-high heat. Now let's get started on the easiest thing, the green peas. In a medium-sized pot, we're going to add 1 1/3 cups of water. And to that, we're going to add 4 tablespoons of melted salted butter. 1/3 cup of sugar. You got to make sure you add enough sugar in there. A half a teaspoon of salt. A half a teaspoon of onion powder. Well, I make it 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And 1/4 cup of chopped yellow onions. And we're just going to give this a quick stir. Now we're going to let this simmer for about 5 minutes. Now we're going to add 12 ounces of our frozen organic green peas. You can add the 16 ounces in there if you like. Alright. Now we're going to give this a quick stir. You're going to let this come to a simmer first. You're going to let it simmer for 5 minutes. Alright, it's been about 5 minutes now, and our green peas is done. Yes, yes, yes. Now we're going to turn our fire off, and from there, meal is complete. Here is the final presentation. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Smothered liver and onions with shrimp, with cheesy mashed potatoes and green peas, made from scratch by a New Orleans native. If you like my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell button if you want to be notified of my videos. You can also check out this recipe, as well as all of my other recipes. Go to www.charliethecookandrews.com. You can also find me on Facebook and on Instagram under the name Charlie the Cook Andrews. Stay tuned as Charlie's Taste Test is coming up next. Yes! Now it's time to go ahead and take a bite. Man, there's so much on my plate, I don't even know where to start. But I'm gonna start somewhere. Oh man, look at this. Eat that little piece of shrimp here. Now let's try the mashed potatoes. And my all-time favorite, green peas. Man, I gotta tell y'all this. Tell y'all this story. When I was a kid, I could not stand liver. I just didn't like it. I didn't like the taste of it. I mean, now, it's a completely different outlook from versus what I had when I was a kid. I don't know, like, there was one time when one of my relatives made liver, and I picked up the liver, and as I put it toward my mouth, I just gagged. I don't know, it was just something about liver that I could not stand. But now I'm older, I'm an adult, it basically took for me to make liver myself for me to really enjoy and appreciate it. I mean, man, this liver is off the chain, and with that shrimp and those onions and those seasonings, all that combined and added into the liver gives it an amazing flavor. I mean, you might only taste that little off-put flavor just slightly, not too much. I mean, everything is so well seasoned in that shrimp. It's real pretty strong, so it really kind of knocks out that that flavor, that off-put flavor that liver has. And the mashed potatoes are nice and cheesy. For me, I decided to go with cheese because that was just something different I wanted to try. But the green peas is really good, nice, sweet, buttery, with that little hint of onion. It's really good. And the liver and the shrimp is really tender. It's on point. So give the recipe a try. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, have a good one. Peace. I never thought I would say this in a million years, but now that I'm older, I really do enjoy and appreciate liver now. It's really good.